Good morning or afternoon or whenever you're listening to YouTube, to Instagram. Again, I have two cameras set up and I'm going to be looking at the YouTube video. And today is another weekly spark. I'm so excited to have this as um, a recurring offer for everyone to access for free. And I really hope to provide valuable insight every single week that helps you on your alignment journey. So this is the weekly spark, 10:30-ish every Tuesday morning. And this is delivered by me, Marin Lauka. I'm the owner of Yes and I am your alignment coach. I guide you to experience career, relationship, and lifestyle fulfillment through authentic alignment, which means aligning with what you care about, with what you are interested in, with what you value and desire, working with your unique fears. So this is different than a cookie cutter course. This is different than coaching where I assume to have the answers. I do not. I have the skill set. I have the research base of positive psychology, of what is known to suggest to be a good life, a well life. And I help you to unveil your own answers as you figure that out for yourself. So as a reminder, if you are at a crossroads right now, if you are feeling like you want some clarity and you want to take your next step with confidence and with authenticity, then I encourage you to visit yesandbymarin.com/decide. This is a link that helps you to download a free decision matrix game. I invented this game that originally started with sticky notes on my office and has since turned into a very smart online game that helps you to make a decision with confidence by addressing what you value, what you care about, your unique fears, your unique circumstance. And it's really interactive. It's really fun. It's free. yesandbymarin.com/decide. Go ahead and download that so that you can also make a decision today. During today's weekly spark, and hello for those who are joining on Instagram and YouTube live, today's weekly spark is about professional versus personal growth. I'm really excited to address this topic because I have experienced it, of course, with my own coaches and my own growth journey. And also I experience it every single day with my clients. In our group program this month, we're talking about addressing self-doubt. And last month we worked on our ideal schedules. And especially last month, our ideal schedule tended, what I found, to focus around our work schedule. But by the end of the month, I think everyone in the experience would agree that all the personal stuff that sometimes we put on the back burner or we think is less important became the most important thing. We used what really ignites us and energizes us for our schedule as a way to help us design a work schedule. Secondly, aspect of what really energizes you and fulfills you and brings light and energy to your life on the personal end of things. And that's what's used to motivate your professional schedule. That's what we experienced last month in the group program. And this month, addressing self-doubt, we're continuing with that flow. We're looking at our personal doubts that sometimes show up in the professional space, but are absolutely rooted in this more personal side of things. And so this is what we're talking about all today. And I'm going to do this via a great story, also incorporating some of my clients' experiences in brief, anonymously, and to share how these two things are very much intertwined is the takeaway, if you want to stop watching right now. But to truly understand that, and not only to understand it, but how to live that and how to incorporate that into your development journey is, I think, essential to growing in both of these areas of your life, personally and professionally. So let's start with a story. Years ago, some of you may know, I was in a PhD program, the only positive psychology PhD program in the country. And it felt icky. It felt misaligned. It felt like I was stuck and overwhelmed in a place that no longer aligned with my ideal future. What I knew was my biggest potential. At one point in time, for clarity's sake, and also if you are experiencing this as well, at one point in time, I did think that PhD program was aligned with my best, biggest, most ideal future. However, I learned during that first year of graduate school that it was not. And so years ago, here I was at this crossroads about whether to continue the PhD or to leave the program completely or to pursue my master's degree and leave after obtaining my master's degree. That's the option I chose, is to pursue my master's degree, to leave after that Again, some of you know this story. And at that moment in time, I was so stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was burnt out. So not only overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed and burnt out. I was overwhelmed and trying to figure out how to cope with being overwhelmed, how to cope with others' opinions as I was experiencing clarity already, thanks to the work with my coaches, experiencing clarity that I no longer wanted to be in the PhD program and that I wanted to leave with my master's degree. That felt clear, but what felt like I needed help and support to cope with, or that I was feeling overwhelmed with, was how do I do that while knowing and addressing and navigating everyone else's opinions that I felt like were kind of coming in to my space and my decision. A few other notes of how I was feeling, of just what, not only what I've felt and what I felt at that time, but also if you resonate with this as well, is I was feeling overwhelmed and therefore wanted to figure out how to organize that overwhelm in a sense, or how to navigate my feelings, navigate my emotions while feeling overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed, wondering, where do I start? What do I do first? And what do you do? What does anyone do when you're overwhelmed with these certain doubts and fears? When you're overwhelmed by emotion, you control. You try to control all of it. I say this compassionately. I say this jokingly, because my cognitive side, the part of me that could reflect and have some critical thinking here, would know that controlling these situations or controlling the overwhelm or organizing the overwhelm actually isn't all that helpful, or the route through the overwhelm that I was experiencing at that time in my life, and any other time that I've experienced overwhelm. However, I've experienced at that point, and I see with my clients time and time again, when we feel that overwhelm, when we feel those combinations of, there tends to be this control that takes over, that we want to grip whatever is in front of us. And for me specifically, as I shared, I was feeling, again, confident in my step, but scared about what that meant, especially in relation to what other people were telling me. And so I was taking this step forward with confidence, and I looked at what everyone else was saying and wondered, part of me wondered if that was true. Is it true that this is a really risky move? Is it true that I'm throwing away a big opportunity? Is it true that I'm going to fail if I were to start my own business? Is it true that I should just accept what is and just be okay with what's in front of me and just find a way to make it work? Should I be doing that instead of this? There was a part of my brain that was still stuck or had been influenced by others' opinions on my decision at hand. And so what I ended up clutching, where my control went to in that, was to ensure and to prove that I had made the right decision. I wanted to prove that this master's degree choice, rather than the PhD, my new career trajectory, was the right call and was a successful call. Many of my clients, and myself included, are high achievers. Like to achieve, you're high achieving in terms of your schoolwork, in terms of your career, in terms of maybe even your relationships, right? You're the best at what you are. You do it right. You do it well. You do it all in or all out. And that's how I was as well. And so I was thinking, all right, well, if I'm choosing masters, if I'm choosing this other career path, I'm going to do it the best that anyone ever has, which has its light side and its shadow side as well. And so at that time, painting that whole picture, the feeling of overwhelm, the sense of wanting control because of that overwhelm, and being in my last semester of graduate school, I was hiring get questions about when to hire a coach, and how I go about hiring coaches. And what I've done, this isn't how everyone does, but what I do in hiring my own coaches is I like to think of my coaches as serving a pretty specific purpose. And we'll get to the irony of that in a second. But I do like to kind of mark my development journey in little sections, and each new section comes with a new coach. I also think of this as like, what person can help me navigate this specific season the best? And so I've had coaches in the past who were more on like that spiritual side when I was navigating my spirituality and religious journey. I had coaches help me navigate whether to what major to choose in university. So I was transferring, transitioning from a dance major to something else. And I hired a coach specifically to help me navigate that area. When I was in a relationship that I wasn't sure if it was a right fit or not, I hired a coach specifically that could help with relationships. And now at this time, the story that I'm telling you, my last semester of graduate school, I hired a coach specifically to help me navigate this career decision. What can I do once I leave with a master's degree that proves that that was the right call, that shows that that was an achievement step, that was a right decision rather than a scary one or a wrong one or one that would fail me in the long run? And his name is Peter. I will link him below. Peter was my coach at the time. I ended up working with him for a full year. And as explained, I entered that coaching relationship with this very clear direction. I was going to, using today's topic, have professional development with him. I was going to decide my career step specifically after I graduated with my master's degree. Ideally, I was going to have a career by the end of our 6-month work together. So I was going to graduate and I was going to have a career lined up already with those last few months of graduate school. That was my idea. This happens with my clients also all the time. And this isn't to shame anyone, myself included, or of course, any of my clients. This isn't to say that this is a wrong approach to anything. This is just to illuminate what's happening under the surface and what I found to be even more helpful. And so we enter coaching with this one idea, with this very specific idea of what our focus is going to be through coaching, professional development in my story here. However, real work appears. The real stuff that's on our heart, the real stuff that's on our mind, the stuff that's in our face that we can't help but face, really, we can't ignore, no matter how many times we try to focus on what we think we want to be focusing on. And I'm speaking personally during that time in my life. And I'm also speaking for my clients who have a specific thing in mind, and then something else keeps coming into our coaching sessions. This other thing that tends to come up, and in my experience, it's been the personal development side of things, we want to push aside because we have this focus on what we want help with, what we want to focus on, what we think we need, what we want to control because it's feeling really uncertain right now. And so whenever anything else comes into the picture, out of fear, out of lack of trust, to be honest, a little bit of lack of trust, we want to push it aside. However, this is when the real magic happens, is when we allow the thing that's already on the forefront of our mind, that's already coming into every coaching session, when we allow that to be the topic, because it's wanting to be the topic for whatever reason, it is the thing that's on our mind. It's the thing that's holding the most energy for us right now. When we allow that to be the topic, that's when our answer to the other thing comes through. So to continue my story, I hired Peter. I wanted a career by the end of my graduate journey after I graduated with my master's degree to prove that I made the right decision. I wanted that certainty. I wanted that achievement, that success to prove everyone and myself that I was being smart and this was right. However, at the time, more insight into my life during that season of my life, I had recently ended a significant relationship. And every session with Peter, that's what kept coming in to the session. That topic kept creeping in some way, because that was what was on my heart, because that was what was really on my mind and what I was challenged with and facing and navigating on a holistic level. And I didn't want to talk about that because I needed to figure out this career, because I needed that certainty, because I needed to figure this out. And my clients, this happens all the time. I had a client who recently had such a powerful shift because originally she was saying, I want this, my business, I want this thing to be sure to know if this is the right thing, to have success in this area or choose something else. I need that decision to be made. And what kept coming up was money mindset. And it was resisted. We tried to push it away, or she tried to push it away, even after some gentle encouragement to face it. And finally, at last, we found a way to incorporate that money mindset that was already on her mind so strongly into our sessions. And lo and behold, once we incorporated that into our sessions, so many things started clicking. She said last session, oh, this is the magic of coaching. This is the power of coaching. And I had that very same experience. Once I allowed Peter and I, during that season of my life, to talk about my relationship rather than figure out my career, not only did things start happening and things start shifting, and I felt better because I was able to work through and navigate and understand what was happening and what was on the forefront of my mind already, but also the career came into light. I understood what I wanted to do. That answer was brought naturally to me. Same with my client. These answers are coming up naturally, even though it's not what we're directly asking. We still have that on our mind, of course. We still have that desire to find that answer for her. And we're letting whatever is present in this present moment be the topic and trust that that will lead us to the answer that she desires. That will lead us to the decision at hand. Same with my journey and same with so many of my clients. To flip that around, and rather than starting with or wanting that professional development, leaning on the personal development and trusting the professional answers will come to light. Another one of my clients, he is really passionate about his business right now that he's starting, his tutoring business. I'm so excited for him to get this launched very, very soon, actually kind of already in effect. And his personal side of life kind of was one of the first topics that he talked about, and was kind of this pinnacle of what he thought to be his work and he thought to be his focus at first. And what we're finding is that the more we focus on the professional development for him, the more we're able to lean into that energy and to those questions that lie on the professional side of things, the more clarity comes with the personal thing that he's working through. The personal stuff is being answered, is being addressed, is still, I would say, and I think he would say, the center point of what he really wants to focus on. And the answers and the way to experience that clarity that he's desiring personally comes through the professional development, simply because the professional development is where he's most energized right now, is where his attention is just most naturally and organically going. And so when we use that energy rather than fight against it, that's when not only do we experience everything that's happening in that area of our life, but it just transfers into all the other areas of our life, especially the answers that are most prominently, or the questions rather, that are most prominently on our mind and heart. So I have some notes. I want to make sure that I covered everything I wanted to today. Yeah, the overall message here is this story that I had, and to, I guess, tie a little bow on it, when I was so overwhelmed, when I wanted to prove and I wanted to find the answer to my career next step after graduate school, and I was so focused on that with my life coach at the time, Peter, it wasn't possible for me to find that answer when something else was holding all of my attention. I could trick my mind into thinking that I could put my attention on my career, but every time it just kept coming up, this other avenue, this other focus of my life. Same with the examples that I gave with my clients. When we want an answer so bad, when we want clarity about one specific part of our life so strongly, but there's something else that just keeps creeping in, it's a great indicator to focus on that and to trust that that will give the answer to this thing that is on our heart, to this other area of our life. So the difference between personal and professional development, that overall question that we're asking today, is that they're intertwined, is that they're one and the same. And sometimes that can feel so frustrating, but sometimes that can be the magic key. That can be the confidence booster that you can focus on whatever is most dominantly on your mind right now, and trust that that will give you the answer to this other thing that you're seeking, to this other question that you're wanting answered. If you trust whatever is on your mind at this moment to be the thing to navigate, to be the thing to dig into, to be the thing to work with your coach, or with a support network, or in your journal in the morning, trust that that's the gateway. That's the catalyst to everything else that you're wanting. Trust, trust, trust. If you need support with this, especially if you're feeling that resistance that I felt, that my clients feel when that other thing comes into the picture and we wanted to suppress it because we want this other answer first. If you need help navigating that, there's two ways you can do that with me. There's my group, The Experience, which you can either take as a self-study program or with weekly group calls. The community that has formed there is unbelievable, just outstanding. This month, as I shared, we are addressing self-doubt, which may show up in your professional life, which may show up in your personal life. Maybe it's the same thing. And next month and every month thereafter, we are focusing on a new topic to help you align one step at a time, your career, your relationships, and your lifestyle. You can check that out at yesandbymarin.com/experience. Also, if you want to work one-on-one with me, this is when the real work specifically with this topic can come to light most powerfully, because we can take what's actually on your mind right now. So with The Experience, it's an incredible transformation that I've seen already with the last month of our ideal schedule. However, there's a topic, there's a focus of the week, and that tends to call our attention. Of course, that gives insights to other aspects of our life, and we can address or expand our learnings from that specific area to all aspects of our life. And it's designed intentionally to help us focus and to feel less overwhelmed by having a topic and one specific practice each week. The one-on-one coaching, on the other hand, this is when I have, for instance, my clients who come to me and they say, hey, I want to decide whether to leave my job or not. And we have that as the North Star. We have that as what we really want to help navigate and find clarity on in the 6 months time that we have together or longer. However, during each session, we can tune in and say, okay, what's really here though? What's really on your mind and heart? What is coming up for you? And trust that that is the answer. That is the catalyst to help find the solution, rather than having a specific topic and running with that, to really focus on the thing that really is calling you, that's in your face, whether you like it or not, and utilize that to find all of your answers and all of your clarity. So you have those two ways if you want more support. Also, as I shared at the beginning of this video, if you are at a crossroads right now and you want to make a decision that feels confident, that feels aligned with your values, your desires, that addresses the fears and helps to tame them down a little bit so that you can take a step with confidence toward your most authentic, aligned next step, next decision, go to yesandbymarin.com/decide, and that will help you download your free decision matrix game. I freaking love this game. It's so profound. I invented it. I also use it all the time because it really does simplify the decision that is in front of you. So that's available to you for free. If you need more support, you know, I have my group program and I have my one-on-one. And of course, if you have any questions about this in specific, in particular, the difference or similarity between professional and personal development, then just leave a comment where you can send me a message. I am active on Instagram these days, or my email is hello@yesandbymarin.com. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Until next Tuesday, when I will bring you another weekly spark to help you align your relationships, your career, and your lifestyle with your most expansive, abundant, authentic self. I will see you then.